Welcome, Hubba, to our newest webinar. We are here today with Amy Morrison, founder of Pregnant Chicken. Everybody wave hi. We are really excited. This is going to be a great session today. We are going to talk to Amy. Amy is a wonderful blogger, reviewer. She's got super great reviews on her site. What we're going to do with Amy today is pick her brain around how you talk to brands, how you structure your posts so that you get some really great reviews going, and just how you stay relevant and how you select products, and some of those really hallmark things about being a great blogger and reviewer that makes you relevant with brands. So
Sure.
Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're excited. For the guys that are listening to this, Amy, we talked to Amy earlier this week, and I kind of went hog wild on the site and started looking at all these reviews. We started talking about this fantastic review that Amy had on Costa Rica. If you've got kids and you haven't read this, yes, you should. I can tell you. Oh yeah, you know what? I can tell you that my wife read it, and my wife's friends read it last night, and so you should see a small flood of folks jumping in there to try and figure out when they're going to Costa Rica.
Good.
So there's stuff like that. I have 3 kids, and my kids are well past stroller age, and yet I think I read every stroller review you have on there because they are good, they're super relevant, and I don't know why I still kick the tires on strollers. So
yeah, hey, they never get old, right?
Yeah, they never do. They never do. So what I thought would be a great place to start is, would you mind telling us the story of Pregnant Chicken, how you got started, where the name Pregnant Chicken kind of rolls off the tongue, but would you mind sharing how that all came about?
Yeah, well, when I was pregnant the first time around, I was terrified and I Googled everything. So I wasn't sure if I could have coffee. Can I clean out the litter box? Like, what should I be doing? So I Googled things madly, and I was like terrified of everything. I was like a coward. I was like a chicken. I was like a pregnant chicken. So that is how the name came about. And the site came about because my background is as a graphic designer, and I just finished my graphic design site. And I thought, you know what, all my friends were pregnant as well. So I thought, you know what, don't Google that. I've already gone crazy and researched everything about that. So I actually compiled it all into one site. And then they started sharing it with their friends. And then it just snowballed from there. And now I do it full time. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Is there anything, was there a moment where you kind of had to figure out when to do this full time? Like, I think a lot of people start doing things as hobbies, but then there's kind of that one moment that it might not be an aha moment. It might just be something about choices. But was there a moment for you that you had to figure out how and when you had to do this full time?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there was a one pivotal moment, but it was becoming difficult because I was freelancing as a designer, and then I was also doing the site. And every time I got a freelance job, I had to put the site on hold, and it started to suffer for it. And I think it just became clear to me that I had to choose one or the other. And I pretty much thought to myself, what am I getting the most out of? Which one do I love doing the most? And decided that I enjoyed the site much more, and decided to put, all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. It's like, woo, nice segue. But it's like, it just became clearer and clearer that I enjoyed doing the site, and I had a lot more passion for the site, and that the design portion of my life was kind of done, and it could be better spent elsewhere.
I think, and you say that that's not a pivotal moment, but I actually think that for Hubba hears about lots of brands that kind of start in their garage and kind of build for families and then realize they can do it full time. I think the one defining thing for bloggers in particular is a love for what you do, right? Because that comes through. I mean, the audience that's listening, you're going to hear it in almost everything Amy talks about after this. But a love for what you do is key to how this whole thing kind of comes together, right? So I think actually for me, that is a pivotal moment that you chose something you love versus something that you're good at, but
Yeah.
not love as much.
Yeah, and I think it's when you think about how much time and effort that you have to put into a site or a blog or whatever, or a product or a brand, you have to love it because the hours and time and effort that you have to put into it, you're just not going to be able to sustain that if it's not something that you love doing.
I love it. I love it. So let's jump from things you love into things that you love doing. Product reviews is something you're incredibly good at, and I said it in the intro. I love reading these, and I've probably read most of your reviews now, even if they're not things that, I mean, a baby sling isn't. I have a 15, an 11, and a 9-year-old, so I'm not putting any of them in a baby sling anymore.
Yeah. And
But
the
I
breast
still
pump reviews are less relevant.
I know. Couldn't be any less relevant, right? But how do you pick all these products? You've got this kind of wide assortment of products on there. How do you pick products? When do you turn products down? Tell us about that process a little.
Well, I think the main thing that I consider is, would my readers want to hear about that? Or is it something that I think my readers want to know about or should know about for that matter? The big thing for me is the investment factor on a piece. That's not necessarily always a money thing. It is like high ticket items or something that people want to know a lot about, but it's sometimes it's like safety. Is it something that parents are really worried about and they want to know a lot about? So it's those kind of things that I keep an eye out for, and that, things like strollers, trips, safety items that you use for kids, and that sort of thing. That's what I try to focus on.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then how do brands find you? Do they reach out to you? Do they go through PR companies? Do you go to trade shows? Like, how does that work?
Yep, it's a bit of everything. The majority is either through PR firms, or when I go to trade shows, or sometimes a brand will just contact me directly, or through Hubba too. I've made quite a few connections through Hubba.
I love it.
But it's like, yeah, it's from a variety of sources. And I don't actually mind where it comes from. It's if it's relevant, I will definitely review it.
Okay. That's great to know. And again, for the audience, that's a key thing in here, right? Is to be selective about what makes sense based on, keep that in mind as we go through this. Amy's going to talk about how a good post works and some of the structure behind it, but being able to pick products that are relevant to you is really key to this whole thing, right? Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart a little. So that's absolutely key as you're picking products. The last question I want to ask you before we jump into posts: how do you stay relevant? I mean, we're in this kind of sea of bloggers, and there seem to be more. There's some recreational bloggers out there that don't really take it as seriously, right? So we see that at Hubba all the time, and we're trying to teach them that being professional and being upfront with brands is a big deal. How do you stay relevant? Like, how do you stay relevant with your readers and with brands so that kind of flow keeps coming?
Well, I think you always have to be true to your voice and honest, and I don't think you have to keep your readers in mind, as well as keeping the brands in mind as well. There's no point in me reviewing something that is absolutely not relevant to my audience, because that's not fair to the brand, and my audience is not going to be interested. And I think it erodes your credibility when you start, you see things when it's like, clearly that person just wanted a free bike or whatever, and so that's why they're reviewing it, but it's not relevant for the brand and it's not relevant for their readers, and people see through that. So I think the key is always being true to your voice and true to your audience, and I think that will always carry you a long way, and will keep you believable and authentic.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so on that note, let's roll into the fundamentals of a post, there's kind of 5 things that you want to do in every review. That's what we've heard from you, and I think these are really amazing. The first one that we'll kind of cover is the product itself. So we've just finished talking about selecting products and picking things that are relevant, making sure that you can add value. But I think in a lot of cases, what we also get from you, because you're an authentic reviewer, is that you truly like the product.
Yeah.
You talk about what happens when you select a product. You either you like it, you don't like it, you hate it. I guess would be the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Can you share some of that?
Yeah. That's never fun. Well, I mean, yes, you have to be honest about what you're reviewing. As far as selection goes, I can usually see if I'm going to, yes, that is a product that's very interesting to me and I can see the value in it. And even if there are some things that I'm not crazy about, I'm happy to point those out in the review. But if the overall product is, it's a good, solid product, I will definitely review it. There's only been a couple of occasions where I truly haven't liked the product. And then I think as an influencer, that's where you have to make a really important decision before you even start doing reviews, is what are you going to do in those situations? For me personally, I like to give people the opportunity to not do the review. So I will contact the company and I will say, listen, I didn't like it. Here's my feedback and here's why. Would you like me to write the review? But I will just let you know now that it's not going to be a positive review. And then I leave it up to them. A lot of people will just write a bad review, but I don't like doing that for a couple reasons. One, especially if it's a company that they're starting out and they're really, that can really ruin a company. And it's like, I don't like to I like to give people the opportunity to at least improve the product. And the other thing is it takes a lot of time and energy to write these reviews, and it takes time and energy for people to read these reviews. So I'm not going to waste your time with stuff that I hate. There's so many amazing products out there that I'm going to move on to something that, no, you need to hear about this. You need to hear about Costa Rica and this stroller, right? So I'm interested in preserving time, my time and my readers' time in that case.
That makes sense. I really like it. And again, I think for listeners to this, that is a big deal, right? Is knowing that when you go into this, there are going to be moments where you are picking products that you picked it, you don't love it, or it's not what it was promised. But what I think Amy does is it's part of the mark of being a professional in this industry is being able to have conflict resolution that works, right, for both sides. So
yeah.
there is a way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a tough way to be able to do business if you're going to write bad reviews all the time. So.
Yeah, and it's just not a nice way to conduct business. It's like, no, it's unkind, I think.
Yeah. I like it. And that, on the unkind note, takes us into the next piece of your blog, of your reviews, which is about tone and voice. Which I really love. I think it's also why I read literally every review that you have. I'll probably keep reading them now. Because you have this way about the way you write these posts, right? So do you want to kind of share a little, if you guys haven't read posts, you should definitely do it. Amy has this really distinct style about her that I will tell you, down to 3, but it makes me want to come back and read it. It makes me want to read about stuff that I would never use, aka breast pump, but I keep coming back. So
hey, I don't judge. I don't know, right?
I'll stop talking. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy, the way the whole site is structured, not just the review portion of it, is I try to speak to my reader as if I'm in the living room with them and they're like my best friend. Like if my best friend was asking me, what do you think about this stroller? I would speak to her like that and review it like that. So I try to not sound like a launch kit or a media kit or anything like that. This is my true opinion, and I'm trying to speak to them like a buddy.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's honest, it's humble, it's direct, and I really do. I feel like I'm in your. I don't even know what your living room looks like, but I feel like I'm there, and I feel like I'm there with you, which I really really love. The next piece in here is about structure. So this one, the layout of all the reviews have a really neat flow, not a really neat, a very structured flow to them,
Mm.
but it's logical. It makes sense to me, and it seems to lay out, you know, how you would think as you're kind of pulling apart or trying to build a stroller or trying to put it together and
Right.
all those sort of things. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I do have a bit of a formula when it comes to
Yeah.
my reviews, is that I um, start with just a very brief intro into what it is. So what is the purpose of this thing? So what is this stroller meant to achieve? Is it a double stroller, and why would you want a double stroller? So it's almost like, here's the problem. You now have a second baby and you have a child that's not like a toddler or something like that. And so you're looking for a second stroller. This is why I think this one's great. And this is why when these guys came out with this new double stroller, I wanted to review it. So it's almost like, here's the problem. Let's see if this product actually solves it. Then what I do is I go into, the first one is things that I love. So I will list everything in bullet points, because I find people, me included, there's usually one or two things that I just want to find out about that product. Like, is it heavy? Does it fold, or whatever? So rather than doing it in paragraph form, I do most of my things that I love in bullet points. So it's easy to zone in on the thing that you really are interested in. Then I go into things to consider. So it's not necessarily things that I don't like. Sometimes it is. Well, it's things to consider. It's like, if this is a heavy stroller,
Yeah.
some people will be like, oh, that's the worst because it's a heavy stroller. Some people like a heavy stroller because it's better to get through snow, or I'm never going to be lifting it, so I don't care. I want a sturdy stroller. So it's more, how does your lifestyle apply to this? And these are things to consider about it. Then I conclude with some comparisons. So a lot of times you need a little bit of context, especially for like things like strollers or products that are out there. And so these are things that are similar to it. So I'll say, this double stroller is great, but it costs $200 more. But it's better because of this. Or this one, folds a little smaller. So if you're tight on space, this is a good comparison too. So I just like to give a little bit of context so you can almost bookend the product that you're reviewing. And then sometimes I do include a video and sometimes I don't. It really comes down to time and what product it is. So if it's something that needs a lot of explanation, or it's something that you need to see in action, like a stroller, I will do a video. But then I will also, whatever I speak about in the video, I'm sure to include it in the written part of the post, because not everybody wants to watch a video. I know, and video is amazing, and video is really dominating, everything right now. But sometimes you're at work and you don't want people to know you're watching stroller reviews. So it's great, because so then I just lay it out so that if you don't want to watch the video, that information is already there. And then at the very, very end, I always ask people, do you have this product? Do you like this product? What do you think about it? Have I missed anything about this product? Because sometimes, like, I don't live in Texas, so there may be somebody down there that it's like, this is amazing for, the beach or something like that. So, as I'm sitting here in snow or whatever. So it's great to have that insight. And it's also a really great way to introduce a dialogue between me and my readers.
God, I like it. I wanted to, you jumped into video a little bit. I want to ask you about that. I did want to go back for a second. So you do make some comparisons with other products. Do you ever because I think other bloggers are going to run into this, and I think there's a way to handle it. So I wanted your take on this. Do you ever tell brands that you're going to compare them to other brands, or kind of mention other brands in there? Do they get a say in that? Having
Yeah,
worked with
no.
brands, I know when you ask those questions, you get certain responses that nobody really loves. So I just wanted to get your take on what you do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty upfront if somebody's sending me a product, and I say, here, you can look at the other reviews. And like I said, they're very formulaic. So in the structure of them, so you shouldn't be surprised if, by the way I'm reviewing it. So I don't necessarily mention it. And I'm sort of like, you know what, if you want to review on the site, this is how I review stuff. And if you don't want me to run it, okay, I won't run it. But it's like, suck it up, buttercup, right? Sorry, right?
Yeah.
But I find certainly brands, I've never run into that. I've never run into somebody emailing me after and say, how dare you compare it to that double stroller.
Okay.
Because I think, again, I always point out the positives, and I've never said any time, or I've been fortunate enough to never have to say, don't buy this product, buy this one instead. So I don't really run into it. I mean, it may get a little sticky if that's what you start doing, but I think you need to figure out up front what you're going to do if you do hit that kind of snag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I mean, part of asking that question is to bring, the audience back to that point of being able to select good products, right? Is you do, what Amy's walked you through is a great infrastructure for how to do this. But when you start this process, you have to have that foresight that you may, at the end of this gambit, run into something where, you need to anticipate, like, this might happen, right? That I'm not going to like this product as much as something else. So being able to select products deliberately in the beginning will help you through this process. So when you reach this point, you are, Amy gets here not by accident, right? The fact that she's got great product placements and great comparisons is because she did the upfront work of picking the right brands and the right products to work with.
Right. And, you don't want, as a brand too, I would argue, you don't want your products getting into the hands of their people that it's not appropriate for. So because they will tell everybody, oh, that is the worst stroller. They won't say, and you hear it all the time. It's like, I live in San Francisco and that is the worst stroller. It's like, yeah, because you live in San Francisco. That is the worst stroller for San Francisco. But that is awesome, an awesome stroller for Toronto. So as a brand too, you want people that love your product getting your product, and so I think that's really key. And I think it's also really good in a review to see where there may be I always call them consumer challenges sort of thing. So if you can see, like, if that people are going to, be really upset if this is a heavy stroller, you need to point that out in your reviews, or you need to say, this isn't great for or preemies won't fit in this, so don't buy that. So you need to almost see where those landmines are, and you need to point them out. And I always think it's a good thing. Plus, I think it makes any review more authentic when you show the good and the bad, because again, you need that context to make your own decision.
I love it. Let's move to media, because you talked about video and how important that is. Do you have a formula, or do you kind of have a combination of what you view as almost a perfect mix of pictures and video, that sort of thing? Yeah,
well, I always try to include a lot of everything. So you never know how somebody's going to want to, consume your content, they might want to see things visually, or they might want to read it, or whatever. And so, and how they want to consume it also depends on, like, social media channels and that sort of thing. So I try to push it in as many directions as possible. So I feature my reviews in my newsletter, and I will feature it on Facebook, and I will push it on Twitter. And sometimes, depending on what it is, I will pin it as well, because Pinterest is an incredible resource for especially baby items for me, because a lot of times you're thinking about buying a double stroller, let's say, but you're not sure. So Pinterest is an excellent resource for that, because they'll literally pin it. And then when it's double stroller time, you've got it there. So I like to sort of shotgun it out to everywhere, so that people know about it. And I think a lot of times too, as a influencer, you sometimes are thinking, oh, I don't want to bombard them with my stuff. It's like, no, like people aren't just sitting there waiting, for your content to come. You have to keep. Yes, exactly. How have I not consumed a pregnant chicken post today? Sort of thing. So you have to keep going, hey, remember this. And especially in what I do is that, people that are pregnant today are not going to be pregnant, well, one would hope, this exact time next year. Or God bless you if you are. But so it's good to keep, rotating that content and keep saying, like, maybe you weren't online on Tuesday, so I'm going to put it in my newsletter. Maybe you missed that newsletter, so I'm going to put it on Instagram, or I'm going to put it as a pin so that it's there for you. So I think that is always something just as important as actually writing the post, is making sure that it's available to people and that it's easy for them to find as well.
Yeah, I think that's a neat touch point, right? Because I think with social media, Amy and I are both Canadians, if you haven't figured this out, because snow has come up a whole lot in this, this webinar.
I'm told I have a really thick Canadian accent.
I don't know.
People are all like, y'all are so cute. I didn't know you're from Canada.
Yeah. But I think one of those things is true, is that, to coin this here, I mean, Canadians are awfully polite. And so sometimes we write things, we post things, and I think that politeness factor in the back is like, oh, I've already shared it, so I'm not going to share it again. But social media is, millennials consume 90 minutes of media a day. They're going to miss things. And so if you've got something good to say, you do have to put on a little bit of a pushy hat and just say, I'm going to repeat this a bunch of times, knowing that part of my audience is going to see it the first time. Part of my audience isn't going to see it till the fourth or fifth time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
and I don't think
never see it till it gets reshared, right?
So, yeah. And I don't think you have to be obnoxious about it. I mean, I'm very upfront, like, you guys may have missed this, so I'm just going to post this again. Or if you're looking, if you're in the market for just rephrasing it too. So, and, I think you can be really polite about it. You don't have to be, shoving it under anybody's nose constantly. But I think as long as you have a variety of ways for your readers to get to stuff, I think they kind of appreciate it, frankly.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we are at the end of this webinar for the most part. What I did want to do is ask you about what's going on in your world. Like, what are you looking at? What are you reviewing? More strollers?
Yeah.
I really don't need another stroller. And my wife is gonna freak out because I don't know what we put in a stroller now or who. And
Get a little chihuahua or something like that,
right? Like, oh my gosh! But what are you working on? What are you looking at?
Well, we just revamped the pregnancy calendar, so that was a really exciting thing. They keep changing what you can and can't do, or not what you can and can't do, what they suggest you do during pregnancy. Yeah. So I had to switch a lot of stuff around. So that's all fresh and fancy. We have a new resource guide, which is really exciting, because that's a place where, again, you find out you're pregnant and you don't even know where to start. So I was trying to compile all the amazing resources and sites that are out there that will not scare you. And then, we've got, tons of reviews coming up, which is great. And what's wonderful too, is I have, an assortment of different writers that are in different life stages too. So I've been very fortunate, when somebody comes, cause it's really hard for me. I don't have a newborn anymore. So when they say this is perfect for a newborn, I'm like, I, you know, what am I going to put my cat in it? Actually, I have done that. I take that back. I have put my cat, but it's like, but now I actually have a writer. I'm like, send it to Emily, because Emily can like literally test this out. So it's really great that as we're expanding the site and we have more people working on it, more people writing for it, we have different points of views and, you know, different points in their lives. So they're able to truly review these things.
Got it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for joining us today. If you are a brand, head to the link on the screen, hubba.com, and sign up for free if you're not with Hubba already. If you're an influencer, there'll be a landing page that you can jump to. You'll have to apply because we want to make sure that we get you guys in there and that you're meeting brands and matching up with the right brands. So jump into the link for influencers below. And then Amy's socials are getting shared here as well. You can reach her at any of these spots as well as the Hubba socials. And we hope to see you next time.